Hello, fifth graders. So now you've kind of had an idea of how to model a whole number by a fraction and how to model fractions multiplied by whole numbers. And now we're kind of just gonna practice just modeling, whether it's a fraction times a whole number or a whole number times a fraction. And we're gonna do that multiply straight across method. All right. So remember, you need to make sure that the whole number is over a 1 when you multiply. So let's look at this problem. It says an art teacher makes a batch of purple paint by mixing 3/4 cups red paint and 3/4 cups blue paint. If she mixes 13 batches, how many cups of purple paint will she have? So what you need to do is to combine the blue and the red. So you're adding 3/4 plus 3/4. So what is 3/4 plus 3/4? Well, they have the same denominator, so you just add the numerators, which is 6/4. So you're multiplying 13 batches. Each batch is 6/4. Okay, and now you're solving that. So we put the 13 over a 1. 6 over the 4, and now all we do is just multiply straight across. So 13 times 6. We get 78. 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, now again, we cannot leave it as an improper fraction. So right here, okay, we do a little division. I give that template to you. So we have 78 divided by 4. So we can complete that. 4 goes into 7 once. You get 4. You subtract. You get 0. 0, I'm sorry. 3. Now, I actually didn't give you enough room, and I apologize for that. 4 goes into 38. 9 times to get 36. You subtract, and you get 2 as your remainder. So sorry about I didn't give you enough room for that. All right. So we have 19 as our whole number. Okay, our remainder is 2 out of 4. But we can also simplify the 2/4 into a half. So it's how many cups? It's 19.5 cups. So I apologize that I didn't give you enough room for that. I think I may have done that for the other one too as well. So you may have to just do that division on a scrap piece of paper. All right, so let's look at this other one. Same thing. We put that whole number over 1. So 56 over 1 times 3 over 7. We multiply straight across. No common denominator needed. 56 times 3, 168. 1 times 7, 7. Now we're doing our division. Again, don't even use this because I didn't give you the right template for that. So we're doing 168 divided by 7. You can just do that on a scrap piece of paper. 7 goes into 16 twice to get 14. We subtract, we get 2. Bring down the 8. 7, 14, 21, 28. We get 28 exactly. We get 0. So 168 divided by 7 is 24. And we don't even need to use that because we didn't get any remainders. Now, you may notice that multiplying this big whole number times this fraction, it's a lot of steps because we have to figure out what the multiplication is, and then we have to figure out what the division is. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Okay, so this is the same problem as before. To solve this problem, you first have to do the long multiplication, and then you have the long division. But I'm going to tell you an easier and faster way, introducing, I like to call it pre-simplification. Okay, and it will make your life so much easier. So this was our original problem. And again, we had to multiply across, and it was a lot of work because we had to multiply and then we had to divide. But if you know your facts, you can do some pre-simplification. So here it says, look diagonally. Do 56 and 7 have any common factors? Yes, okay? So 7 is a common factor, meaning 56 can be divided by 7 and 7 can be divided by 7. So what you can do is do the pre-simplification. 56 divided by 7 is 8. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Look at that. We just cut down those fractions so much, okay? We basically just divided the top and bottom by 7, okay? But we just did it before we even solved the problem. And then it makes our multiplication way easier at the end, because now our final problem is 8 over 1 times 3 over 1. And look how easy that is. 8 times 3 is 24. 1 times 1 is 1, or the same thing as just 24 wholes. Okay, so keep that in mind that you can also use pre-simplification. Look diagonally. Now we couldn't do diagonally 3 and 1 because there was nothing besides 1 that can be divided. Okay, but for 56 and 7, 7 can go into both. Okay, so if you use that pre-simplification to help you, it will be a lot easier and your problems will be a lot easier to solve. So let's do a few examples. This first problem, okay, you want to rewrite it. We have 9/10 times 25 over 1. Remember, we have to put that 25 over 1, the whole number. Now, we can do 9 times 25 and 10 times 1. But first, we'd have to figure out what 9 times 25 is, and then we have to do some long division. Instead, we can look diagonally. So, look diagonally at 9 and 1. Unfortunately, they have no common factors except for 1, so that won't help us. But if we look diagonally for 10 and 25, do they have any common factors? Well, they can both be divided by 5. So 10 divided by 5 and 25 divided by 5, okay? So we could pre-simplify and do that. So now instead dividing 25 by 5 actually is 5. Dividing 10 divided by 5 is 2. Look at that. We just cut down that problem. We divided the numerator and denominator by 5. So we have 9 times 5, which is 45. 2 times 1, which is 2. So we have 45 divided by 2. So again, we can do that long division. I think you'll run out of room again on this long division chart. I apologize for that. 2 goes into 4 twice. To get 4, we subtract, bring down the 5. 2 goes into 5 twice as well. You get 4, you subtract, you get a 1. So our answer is 22 and 1/2. Okay, and again, we could have gotten the same answer by just doing 9 times 25 and then taking that and dividing it by 10. But once you get a hang of the pre-simplification, it makes your life a lot easier. So this next problem, 5/9 times 36 over 1. So again, if we look diagonally, 5 and 1, they don't have any common factors, but 36 and 9 do. What number can go into 9 and 36? Well, 9 can. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. 36 divided by 9 is 4. So now our problem is just 5 over 1 times 4 over 1. Look at that. Okay. And our answer, 5 times 4, is 20 over 1, which is the same thing as just 20. All right. So really, guys, pre-simplification is just there to make it easier for you. So the next one, we have 24 over 1 times 3 over 14. Okay, if we look this way again, nothing goes into 1 and 3. Now, all these examples, the first time we tried, we couldn't simplify it. Sometimes that just happens. You can only pre-simplify once. Sometimes you can pre-simplify twice, and I'll show you an example at the very end. So that doesn't work that way, but if we work this way, what goes into 24 and 14? And you always want it to be the greatest common factor. Well, 2 can go into both. So 14 divided by 2 and 24 divided by 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Now our problem is 36 divided by 7, which is easier to solve. 36 divided by 7. 7 can go into 36. 5 times to get 35. Subtract and get 1. So our answer is 5 and 1/7. Now, the reason why we pre-simplify again, guys, okay, is because most of the time if you pre-simplify, you will not have to simplify at all at the very end, okay? If you're like, Ms. Rothstein, I don't want to pre-simplify. I just want to keep my numbers exactly the same. So, for example, for this last one, I would just do 24 over 1 times 3 over 14, all right? And then I would just solve it just like you would, multiply straight across. So 25 times 3 is 72. 1 times 14 is 14. And then I would figure this out. Now, that still works, but once you get your answer to this problem, you're going to probably have to simplify at the end as well. All right? So the pre-simplification part of this just tells you that you can simplify earlier to make less work for you at the end. All right? And the one last thing I do want to show you guys is that you can pre-simplify twice. So let's look at this problem. We have 4/6 times 36/8. Okay, so if we look diagonally this way, the greatest common factor of 4 and 8, they can both be divided by 4. So that becomes a 1, that becomes a 2. If we look diagonally this way, the greatest common factor of 6 and 36, 6 can go into both. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 36 divided by 6 is 6. So our new fraction is 1 over 1 times 6 over 2. Whew, look at that. And our answer is just 6 over 2, which is equivalent to 3. Okay, so this is an example of pre-simplifying both ways, both diagonals, okay, to help you get a simpler answer. So in your classroom, there is going to be some more practice with pre-simplification. Try your best with these. Again, I know it's a little hard to do digitally, so if you want to do the work on a scrap piece of paper and just input the answers, you can do that if you would like, if that is easier for you. All right, but just practice solving these problems, see how you feel. If you have any questions, please let me know. Pre-simplification, again, takes a little bit to get used to, but once you know it and you feel good with it, it makes life a lot easier and solving these problems a piece of cake. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day and email me if you have any questions. All right. Bye, 5th grade.